His hand grabbed my arm, rough paws, hairy, raw. The strength in his grip cutting off the flow of blood to my hand. With a quick tug, I was pulled from the light of day into the cool, dark cave. Water cascading at the entrance sealed the way, and the splatter from the fall cast a mist into my eyes. Blind. They took my sight, my vision, my future experience of all the colors of the world. Rainbows and sunsets, bright colored flowers in the deep greens of the forest. Gone. Releasing my arm, he helped me sit on the floor of the cave. After a moment, I felt his long hair against my chest as he raised a bowl of water to my lips. It was sweet, the nectar of flowers swirling in the cool liquid as it flowed down my throat. I gasped for air. Where am I? What happened? How did I get here? The questions echoed against the hard rock walls, but his answer was a simple grunt, followed by a gentle, rough paw on my forehead. Suddenly the darkness was no more. A piercing, brilliant light pulsed into my body, his hand the source. I cried out as the light cut through me. My body became a distant memory, my heart radiant with the shimmering essence of an energy I couldn't describe if I tried. Then I saw him, his toothy grin, his large limbs covered in hair, like a yak transmuted into a man. When he spoke, his words vibrated through me. You called for us and we came. I came. You're free now. Safe. I could see them then, white lab coats, sterile skin, faces bleak and empty eyes staring down at me, through me, into microscopes at my blood, my hair, my flesh. They studied you, he said. We felt your pain, heard your cries, and came. Tears welled up in my eyes, an ocean of pain rising with the tide of memories. Harsh, bleak moments lost in time still clung to my psyche like thorns. I could still feel the blood I shed from the wounds on my arms and legs. A wave of trauma pulled me under, ripped me into a sea of agony, dark, cold memories suffocating. I didn't want to remember, but I could not forget. Then I felt his hand again, reaching into the depths, pulling me up, out into the present moment, his brilliant white smile filling me with warmth and hope as the darkness of my blindness and the cool air of the cave returned. My spirit fell back into my body, and I slept. Sound is my vision and my sense of landscape and space. Time waits out there in the darkness as the songs of birds, the wind in the trees, and the soft touch of big feet on wet ground call me to my senses. I'm touched by the dew on the leaves as we pass beneath long limbs that I can only imagine as he carries me on his back, his fur coat warming me in the chill of the morning. I can hear the river beside us rushing over rocks and fallen trees. The sun cuts through the forest canopy. Its warmth reminds me of simpler days. Days of laughter, play, song, and dance. My siblings and I working the earth, caring for the garden. The animals of the forest are constant companions. My father was like the beast who set me free. My mother a beauty who found comfort in his strength and freedom in his wild nature. She was unlike most of her kind. She was, in her words, a woman of the wood, fey in heart, soul, and body. We, my siblings and I, were offspring of this magical couple and the perfect subjects for cross-breed examination. My eyes were clear then. The darkness they punished me with had not come, and so much of my life was filled with the joy of the forest. The careful plodding of my gentle host's large feet on the path bring me back to my father's side as we ran through the forest, sprinting over old-growth roots, leaping rotten trees, trusting the earth and our deep love for her essence to guide us. Her essence, lost for years in the sterile, bleak world they trapped me in. Clean rooms are anything but natural. They are a lie on a planet where bacteria and fungi thrive together. They are creations of alien nations confused by a world that thrives in diversity. As my host sets me down beside the rushing waters of the river, I slip back into the memories of that lifeless space. The currents of the water pulling out the dark memories as I move my feet in the cool flow of the river. My sister screamed when they first arrived, the thunder of their machines filling the night sky, men dropping from long ropes into our yard, cutting the dark with red lasers. Their invasion unleashed my father's primal nature, the beast within rising in the blackness as he charged out of our cabin, fangs bared, roaring like I had never heard him roar before. My mother gathered and hurried us into the root cellar. Rapid fire explosions cut through the once still night, and soon they were upon us, pulling us out of our hiding place. We walked in a line, tears flowing from the shock and awe. The sight of my father's body dropped my mother to her knees, her screams sending an electric current through my bones. The men gathered her up and pushed her forward, forcing us onto their flying machines. When we arrived, we were parted, and I never saw her or my siblings again. My world became bleak, sterile, lifeless, glass and plastic, cold metal and concrete, poked and prodded, drugged and stimulated, wires and needles, electrodes and computers. The dull drone of empty voices, the scratching of notes on paper, dissecting and distorting. My essence was stirred into beakers, poured into bottles, dropped onto glass plates. My fecal matter, pus and piss, all examined. The boy I was in the forest, a distant memory. But with my mind, I tried to reach back, to touch them, hold them. Soon my tears dried up and my heart cracked under the heat and pressure of their constant study. And then they took my sight. I was already living in the absence of the sun, my soul cut off from the light that sustains life on this planet. The loss of my vision compounded the distance between the past and the present. It happened slowly over time, a side effect of one of their drugs, they surmised. I was one step closer to death and one step further away from the cold, lifeless light that reflected their true nature. Flames touched the stars and the thunder of drums welcomed us as we entered the tribe. The heat of the fire hot on my face as my guardians set me down in a sea of creatures I could not see. The warmth of their love flooded me. They welcomed me as if I were family, and as family they fed me a rich meal of wild foraged foods. We danced and I laughed, joy rising like a green shoot from the dried and cracked soil of my heart. The swirl and sway of those around me was electric, and despite my blindness, I blended in with the movements, as if I had danced with them every night of my life. My laughter turned to tears as I remembered my family and the nights we spent together outside around flames that licked the sky and warmed our bones, compelling us to move as my companions now moved under the starlit night. My memory of the sky's radiance and all the tiny pricks of light filled the blackness of my blindness, and we danced till the night faded and the sun rose, its heat warming our tired bodies as we rested in the radiance of a new day, a day that will live on forever in my memory. Although I have no visual recollection of those events, their energy lives on inside me, and their wisdom I pass on to my grandchildren. What the men in white coats sought to understand, to study and record, cannot be found in our footprints, our fur, our blood, bones, or shit. The truth, which they hungered for, is in the warmth of our fires, the richness of the landscapes we inhabit, the purity of our waters, and the invisible threads that weave in and through our lives, connecting us one with another. These things cannot be studied, dissected, or categorized. They must be felt, seen, heard, and experienced like a child, for only a child can discover the wisdom of Sasquatch. Thanks for taking the time to join me around the fire and listen to my short story, Sasquatch. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, and you know a friend or a family member or a couple people who may enjoy it as well, please feel free to share it with them. Also, if you want to hear the behind the scenes story, or the story behind the story, and my adventure into the Porcupine Mountains to meet with Sasquatch, you can find that on my Patreon page. The link is below in the description. Also, I'm planning on releasing a short story every week for the next 52 weeks for all of 2021. And so you can tune back in here. Next week, I have a short story called The Ghost in the Gun, which I will be sharing around the fire. So feel free to drop by. You can find that on Instagram at Humstream, or on YouTube. My YouTube channel is 7th Gen Creations. Thanks so much.